Our culture doesn't just run fast, it demands we run faster. What do our souls and families lose when we never slow down? In today's episode, Kristen Welch joins me again to discuss what it means to turn down the noise, rediscover peace, and sit with Jesus, especially in a season of constant distraction. I've got Kristen Welch with me again. She's the author of Raising Grateful Kids in an Entitled World. And today we're talking about something you had mentioned on the previous podcast, which is you're working on, is it a project? You're writing a book?
Yes.
Slowing down and sitting with Jesus.
Yes. So that's going to come out in the fall of 2026. The actual title right now is The Little Big Life. And the subtitle is Quieting the Noise to Find the Secret Place with Jesus.
Yeah. Well, we talked about busyness, and I think we pride ourselves in our busyness. It's a badge of honor.
Yes.
And chaos, the more chaos and confusion, the better, and the more industrious that I am, and I feel like I'm in control of things. But that's not really what's happening.
Right.
So chaos and confusion is really probably the Lord calling us to a sense of rest in Him. So kind of tell us a little bit about what spurred this writing project on.
Yeah. Most of my writing projects come from my actual life.
As they should.
And the good and the bad, the ugly.
Right.
And a few years ago, about 13 years into running a nonprofit, I was on the path to spiritual death, but did not know it.
Right.
I was really busy doing a lot of good things for God, which is great, right? And you're applauded for it, and it's what I think Christians think they should be doing.
Right.
I was doing a lot for Him, but not being with Him a lot, right?
Yeah,
and I
you
think
weren't filling your own cup.
Yes, and that is it's a dangerous place to be, but it's a very common place to be, especially in Christian leadership, right? Yeah. You're just pouring out. And the busier you get, the faster you're going. And I truly believe it is how the enemy still kills and destroys. And Henry Nouwen says that burnout is a psychological, convenient term for spiritual death. And so I kept saying I was burned out. Like I just was so weary of all the things, right? Like leading this global nonprofit, fundraising, storytelling, all of it. I loved it.
Sure.
It was my passion.
Too much for one person.
But it was too much. And I did not realize when I was talking about burnout, what I was really saying is I'm spiritually dying. That's more in your face, I think.
No, but I mean, I think it's probably a necessary term to get people's attention.
I do think there would have been, more people who would have been like, hang on, right?
You're not actually dying.
Because burnout is actually a kinder term for that. It's like more socially palatable. It's like
people get burnt out.
Yeah.
And
it's almost like an accolade, right? Yeah. Like I work so hard for God, I'm burned out. But yeah, it is another way to say I'm spiritually dying. But I didn't realize it.
Well, I mean, the reality is if you're not being fed, you're not being sustained. If you use the example of a human body, if you're not eating your food and you're not drinking water, you will die.
Right. Yeah. And I think it's like what your diet is, because I wasn't starving myself spiritually, right? I was checking the boxes.
Right.
Which that's where the self-deception comes in.
Which is the danger.
The danger, right? Like I listening to a lot of podcasts.
Yeah, I'm
reading a lot of Christian books.
I'm doing a lot of the podcast listening, and I do think I'm getting a lot of tools and information which are really helpful.
Yes.
But do I actually even put these things into practice, or is it all just head knowledge?
Yes. Yeah. And I live in that logical part of my brain where a ton of information, and I love to learn. I love to read. It is not an exchange for sitting with God. And I do think the enemy wants us to believe that it is.
Yeah.
Right?
Sure.
Like I can listen to my Bible rushing in traffic to work and count that as my quiet time.
Right.
I'm not saying you can't. That's between you and God.
Right.
For me, it wasn't transformational. It was checking a box. Right?
Yeah.
And so it was killing me spiritually. And I knew it, and I knew I did not have space for God. And I think what was so alarming was I didn't know how to find space for God. And I'm probably one of the people that should be able to tell others, right, how you find God.
Right.
And so I, went to my board of directors and my staff and said, I need to take a sabbatical. And I knew that this was the opportunity for me to connect with God, and really, I needed a resurrection. I needed intimacy with Jesus.
Yeah.
And so I left my job for 110 days, got into therapy, and got a spiritual director. So I was very intentional because I was terrified that if I didn't take advantage and figure out how to navigate this,
What was going to happen?
it was going to be
at the end of the
wasted.
road?
Because I didn't really need a break. I didn't need a vacation.
Right.
I needed God.
Yeah.
And so it was a journey to reconnecting with God. And it saved my life. Literally saved my life.
Let's talk about a little bit of the practices that you put in place. You talk a lot about Sabbath rest, probably some digital Sabbaths we
Yes.
talked about,
Yeah.
and really just kind of not disassociating, but kind of allowing the digital world to
Yeah.
be by the wayside and
Right. Parenting myself.
right.
Right.
Yeah.
Setting up screen times. Do not disturb.
Right.
Stays on my phone.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of practical things. But even before I got to that point, when I knew I needed to sit in solitude and silence, which is so anti our culture, right? Like we don't
even in
ever
the Christian culture, yeah.
Yes, we don't ever have to sit in silence again if we don't want to,
Right.
ever.
Yeah.
Right? We can take our phones to the bathroom with us.
Yeah.
We are always connected.
Always,
We
yeah.
can have a sound machine on at night. Like we never have to sit in silence or solitude. And I think if Jesus did it, we need to do it.
Yeah.
Right? That's where spiritual disciplines come from, is
Yeah.
the pathway of Jesus.
Yeah.
But I did not practice it at all. No silence or solitude. And even as an introvert who likes to be alone, I was filling that time with noise.
Right.
Positive noise, but
Yeah.
still noise.
Yeah.
And I think what God really revealed to me is sin.
Yeah.
Sin is separation from God. And my sin wasn't a gross, like, breaking the 10 Commandments. Like,
Yes.
it,
Right.
right? It was still separation from God.
Right.
Because it was distraction.
Yeah.
And so sitting in silence and solitude really became the beginning of a journey that was at times dark wilderness experience, because when you sit in silence and solitude, all the things you haven't processed and dealt with surface. You face yourself.
Yeah.
You face the enemy. And finally you face God. But first you face yourself. And so there was such a backlog of unprocessed pain that I had not dealt with, from family of origin, relationships, disappointments, my own failures.
And you hadn't had time to even
Right.
deal with those in the moment.
And it's why we avoid being alone, really.
Right.
And I think what I didn't realize at the time was this is a human condition.
Yeah.
I think I was pretty hard on myself, like,
Sure.
because I had a panic attack the first day, basically,
Yeah.
where I was like, I'm going to unplug and sit in total silence and solitude for as long as I can and just see what God shows me.
Yeah.
And it was overwhelming, completely overwhelming. And so it took, a lot of time to process all that was waiting for me.
Yeah.
And I strongly believe, and I didn't come up with this, there's this podcast called the Bema Podcast that I love, and he talks about making space for God in one of his episodes. And he was like, if you can quiet the noise and get to the bottom of your pain, God probably is trying to say something to you, and you have missed it. And that was really the catalyst why I knew I needed it, because I didn't know what God was saying to me anymore.
Yeah.
right? And my full-time job is a visionary for a nonprofit faith-based organization.
Right.
It's imperative that I know what God is saying, right? Like that feels like my very livelihood depends on it. And it's hard because I went from I know what God is saying to I don't know what God is saying to I don't care what God is saying. Not overtly.
Sure.
But I think looking back,
Too
that's
busy,
where I was. Right?
coming up with things and strategizing.
Yes.
And
yes. Critical thinking and problem solving. And I wanted to know what God was saying to me. And so I'm in this place of like, I've recognized I'm spiritually dying. I am trying to practice silence and solitude, and all of this pain is surfacing. So, I know I'm onto something, but it was extremely difficult to face myself and to face the enemy.
Yeah.
But, it's the path to God.
Yeah.
And so you have to go through it, right? And
I think that's in Pilgrim's Progress,
Yes.
right? Where Christian faces self and it's terrifying.
Yes, it really is terrifying.
Yeah.
But I desperately wanted to know what God was saying to me because it felt pivotal. Because I wasn't. I knew I couldn't go back to my job and return the same person. I needed His direction, and it took some time, and it was a very profound experience in the woods behind my house, where I finally emptied myself, of all the things. And what's really beautiful about that journey is God's with you. Yeah. And so the Holy Spirit was very present, helping me process pain and wounds and finding Jesus in it, right? Like he never leaves us or forsakes us. And He was with me in all of that. And so when I finally got to where I felt like I have nothing left to say to God, and now I can listen.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Which prayer for me was a lot of talking, not a lot of listening. Because you have to be quiet to listen. Yeah. And when I was quiet, unprocessed pain would show up, right? So when I finally got to that point, I was just like, I said to God out loud in the woods behind my house, I don't know who I am if I don't return to work. That's what was there, is I don't know who I am if I don't go back to my job.
Yeah.
Because it kind of told me who I was. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the Lord was so kind to answer me. And He said, you're my child. You don't ever have to do anything for me again except sit in my love. It's available to you. And I started thinking about my own children. Again, that parenting analogy, that my kids, they don't have to do anything to be my kids or to receive my love. I love them in spite of what they do. I don't love them because they perform or achieve or, fill in the blank, what they do. I love them for who they are. Yeah. And so I just sat in the love of God and really just repeated the gospel story to myself, right? That Jesus came for me and died for me and wants me to live abundantly. And that was the beginning of a very deep path into intimacy with Jesus that felt a lot like a wilderness. But what I realized after, the sabbatical was God was preparing me. I mean, when Jesus invites you into a wilderness, it's to face the enemy. And so after my sabbatical, I ended up going through some really difficult things that I felt completely prepared for because I accepted the invitation in Matthew 11 to come, are you weary, heavy laden? Come to me and I will give you rest. And the Lord prepared me for, a difficult season that I really experienced intimacy with Jesus in such a profound way. And Psalm 23 has kind of been my guidepost through that because, I love the imagery. And every line of it is so, I think it's all we need, really. It's just, there's so much forming in that. Yeah. And acknowledging the Lord is our shepherd and I shall not want. I really got stuck there a lot because of my own desire to have what I don't have, Yeah. And so of course, the valley of the shadow of death and God being with us and preparing a table in the seat of our enemies. And he's just shepherded me. And the intimacy that I have with the Lord is the most important thing in my life. And when it was time to go back to work, and I really just laid it before God, like where can I most glorify you? If it's not here, just show me. And I really felt compelled by God to return with one focus, and that was to model what it looks like to sit with Jesus. Because I had modeled the exact opposite. And I had really created a dynamic of just overwork, and it all counts on us, and we're empowering vulnerable families. We're stepping into the chaos of people all the time. And then
so it's dependent on us and not dependent on the work of the Lord. So there needs to be
so I felt like an opportunity to have a redo. And so for the last 2 years, I started teaching spiritual formation classes to our staff. And I felt like God sort of showed me, when you're in an organization that's responding to vulnerable people, in a lot of it's frontline ministry, and it's very chaotic, and you're responding. I saw us as a hospital, but instead of my coworkers and myself being like doctors, we were patients in the hospital, right? Like, because we were all giving from a place of depletion. And so, I wanted the opportunity to lead differently and to surrender. And to show, my family, anyone who was watching, this is what surrender looks like. And model a different kind of leadership. And so, it's been very life-giving and creating a rule of life around those spiritual disciplines.
So you don't have to go back into that phase again. That's what I was going to ask. Was like, how, what does that look like? And I know you're a lot of your writing is kind of rhythms and kind of a daily, those daily
habits,
accounts and habits.
Well, I think once you get to that place where you've processed it all, right? And you're empty, and there's not a backlog, then you're processing in real time. So it was this, which I don't know if you know that when you're entering it. You just think there's a bottomless well of
We're never
pain.
Going to get to the end.
You're never going to get to the end. But for me, once I did, then every morning I'm processing what happened the day before, right? And I'm able to confess my sins in real time. And I'm able to, if I need to apologize, if I need to do the next right thing, I'm very aware of what that is, because there isn't a backlog. And I'm not numbing my pain, right? I'm not distracting myself so I don't have to deal with backlog, because I do think that is our coping strategy, right? That's why we don't want to not have our phone with us. That's why we want to fill every second of the day, because we're numbing, avoiding, we're coping, we're trying to find some inner balance, because life is hard.
Peace from outside of us.
Right.
Which is actually the answer, but it's
what
are you going to for the peace?
And we're creating more pain and suffering, right? Because it's spilling out on other people. And so it just really reoriented my life. And it's not perfect. And again, there isn't a formula. I do think there are habits, because our habits are what form us. We're all being spiritually formed every day by something. Right? And if our technology is where we spend most of our time, we are being formed by technology. If, the people we are in community with are wherever we're filling our time, that's what's forming us. And I don't think we always know that, right? That what we're taking in is going to be our output. And so that realization is critical. So I do think reorienting our days and creating the discipline and the practice of what it looks like to sit with God. And so that's obviously time with God, right? That is that is the core.
Yeah.
There are so many forms of prayer, right? Creativity, nature, silence, listening, supplication, fasting.
Yeah.
So many ways to connect with God. I mean, He wants to live our lives with us.
Yeah.
Right? He's there to do that.
That's the irony, right? It's that
Right.
we're too busy,
Yeah.
and we kind of square out things the Lord's calling us to. He always is calling us into more time with Him.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
And He's always available.
He's pursuing us. And I do think the shepherd knows where to find his sheep, right? He knows where to find, and he's always looking for us and calling us and appealing to us to slow down and recognize that he's right there.
Yeah.
And he has things to say to us. And
And the sheep know His voice.
yep.
Well, Kristen, it's been such a pleasure to have you. Remind me the name of the book, because I don't have it written down.
Yes. It's going to be called The Little Big Life. It'll come out in the fall of 2026.
Well, we'll make sure our listeners will get a refresh in 2026. And thank you again for taking the time to talk to us about a myriad of issues. But we're so grateful for the way that the Lord is using you. And we pray He would continue to bless you and your family.
Thank you so much.
Thanks. Maybe slowing down isn't about doing less, but being present with Jesus in what matters most. If this conversation spoke to you, take 5 quiet minutes today with no phone, no agenda, and invite Him to set your pace. You might find that's where gratitude and joy truly begin. Thank you for joining us today. Check the show notes to learn more about Kristen Welch. We'll see you back here next week for our next Candid Conversation.